All right, we got a question from the chat. Our pal Dion had a question for you, Pierce. He asked, what was the transition like moving from Dallas to Los Angeles, and what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome? A lot of people move from one place to the next in LA. I moved from Virginia to LA. Josh has always been here, but a lot of people are looking to make that move. What was that like for you, Pierce?
Oh, it was a culture shock like a motherfucker, man. I went to the grocery store and saw Frosted Flakes was like $5, and I was ready to move back at the time. I said, nah, y'all got this shit. This is different. But I moved out here at 23, and they, when they offered me the job, it was like, yo, can you move out here in 2 weeks? I had never visited LA. I didn't know anybody in LA, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it. My dad's quote to me was, you ain't got no kids, so why not? I was like, that's a fair point.
That was my same thing. I was like, man, I don't have nothing connecting me or keeping me in this spot right now. Why would I not leave?
No, real talk. And I knew the complex opportunity. I was like, man, this could be a stepping stone to so many bigger things. And like, you don't want to get to a point where you don't take the opportunity and you regret it for the rest of your life. So packed 2 suitcases. I moved out here. I stayed at an extended stay in Glendale.
Whoa.
That was crazy. Yeah, that extended stay life was different. It was different for sure. But I was on a mission, man. I had a little bit of delusion that I could just, make it happen. But I think you need that from time to time to like really persevere and get to what you need. But, I always told myself, I was like, listen, man, fuck it. I'm gonna make it work. Yeah. And, looking back, we was able to, God willing, we was able to make it happen. So roundabout way to answer that question, it was definitely a culture shock. But I think just taking the things I learned in Texas and learned in Dallas and, put it here, it wasn't too much of a drastic change.
Hey, because you're going to struggle. Listen, you're going to struggle regardless of what you're doing out here. These palm trees, they just for show. Like, it's some real shit out here. Like, that's why I always say I do not want to take pictures next to no palm trees, on Runyon Canyon, on nothing like that until I earn it. And to this day, you ain't never seen me take a picture next to one of them shits.
So when the palm tree picture hit Twitter or IG, the check has been cleared. I got you. I see the vision.
Absolutely. I'm selling out. I'm selling out.
That's some real shit about LA. It's like, people had this idea that it's like the streets are paved in gold and it's just all easy. And I'm like, if anything, it makes it more challenging because in a stone's throw, you can see people like the richest people on earth. And you know what I'm saying? And if you're struggling, it's just going to magnify the way you're feeling at that moment. Mm-hmm. So like, I done seen plenty of people come out here and this city like shoot them up and spit them out, especially when they chasing shit that's like, superficial or chasing things, trying to always be on the fucking scene and shit. At the end of the day, this is a working class city like any other city. And you got to just put your work in and really get to where you need to get to. So like that comes first. The work comes first. And that's always something I knew. And I think if you are going to make a transition to LA or any city, put the work first.
Absolutely.
Man, that is absolutely, I'm so glad you said that because that's the best perspective to have as a transplant in Los Angeles. I think far too often people just think it's all about, the nightlife and the going out and going to the trendy places. And it's like, nah, like you got to do some work here or you're just going to be a bum. Yeah. And we have a lot of those here.
Yeah. Like Pierce could have been in that extended stay for an extended stay. You know what I mean? Like, but he wasn't. You know what I mean? And speaking of work, what are some of your favorite interviews that you've done?
Man, I was telling somebody the other day, the interviews are kind of like, of course I don't have no kids, but I would imagine it's like trying to pick a favorite kid. I look at all my interviews like markers in time of what I learned for myself in this game and, how I've improved in just my experiences. Like when I first got the complex, the first interview they gave me was Pharrell. And I tell people all the time, that shit was like dropping an NBA rookie against like prime Kobe. And you're trying to navigate that shit. And he got this different aura and energy to him. And you're kind of like fixated on that, but you also have to ask questions. And at that particular time, I felt like I had failed that interview. And then I told myself right after, I was like, I'm going to talk to Pharrell again and I'm going to smoke that shit. And I would say maybe 2.5 years later, right when Kanye went to the White House for the Trump situation, him and Pharrell, they was all under that Adidas umbrella. Mm-hmm. And Pharrell kind of wanted to say his piece about it and not get so lumped in. And I remember Damian Scott, shout out to Damian Scott. I believe he's over at
Dreamville.
He's at Dreamville, yeah. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Damian. He hit me. He's like, hey, I want you to go interview Pharrell and, talk to him about the situation. And I was like, okay, this is my moment to really make this shit and like prove it to myself. And I went there and did my thing so much so that even Kanye himself tweeted the interview and was like, shout out to my brother Pharrell. And that meant a lot to me. And I was just like, it was like these little markers in time where I'm able to just take moments and learn from myself and just see that I'm growing in my craft. And I think one in particular that changed things too was Floyd Mayweather, because it was right after 50 Cent was questioning his literacy. And J5, we got to talk about you and literacy on the TL, but that's a story for another day.
Oh, man.
That's a story for another day.
Not you, too.
I said, no, J5 crazy.
Yeah, he's funny. Out of his mind.
But yeah, I remember the Floyd Mayweather thing popped up, and my boss in town called me and was like, yo, listen, I know you're charismatic. I know people like you in these interviews, but I'm gonna need you to ask him this question about the 50 Cent comment. And I was like, well, fuck, okay. This man got his hands are lethal weapons. I know he might be on the smack, but it don't take much to knock somebody out. So I was like, all right, cool. And so we're in this small room, and I was like, well, fuck it, I gotta ask him. Long story short, we had a conversation, and he ended up bringing out an $18 million watch, and he talked shit about 50 and, said his piece. And at that moment in time, it taught me how to ask. You can ask anything, just make sure the delivery is proper, and you can ask anything you want. So that gave me some perspective going forward the rest of my career.
If I was interviewing Floyd Mayweather, man, the way he spent money, I would have just asked him for some.
I'm gonna keep it a stack. I wanted him to knock me out so I can get that settlement.
You could have just been like, "What?" You could have been like, "What happened between you and Tiny?"
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm a super 50 million, and he gonna settle for like 5, 10. That's all I wanted.
Something that you did, and I thought was really cool and really like kind of outside of the box, and just showed some of your talent and skills outside of just the broadcast stuff, was you created like a NBA spot that went viral. What was the creative and the thinking behind doing that?
1 year in particular, take it back. Growing up, I used to just love the NBA on NBC. I think to this day they had the best presentation when it came to NBA games, and just playing ball growing up and just that being my first love, I was just fixated on watching those games. So I think just through watching all these NBA broadcasts over the years, it was just kind of in me. And I went. It was one morning, and I would say 2021. I was getting some coffee, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a little spot real quick, because I was kind of bored, and I did it, and it went crazy. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try and do this every year. And so this year in particular, I did another one, and it did well again. And I was like, okay, so one day in the future, I'm gonna try and cook up a commercial for the NBA and try to add that to my resume as well, because it's like we said at the beginning of the show, I feel like Black men are limitless in what they can do.
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to showcase that. I want to be able to showcase that we can do so many different things other than what the perception may be. And that's just always been my goal.
Right. And I know Mark wanted to ask a question. Did you want to ask a question, Mark?
Pierce, I think we're in a really dangerous area right now. I'm just a little bit concerned that we're now in a generation where ball sack sports is verified media. How has a lot of the conversation of Complex went today in trying to navigate what is going on Twitter and a new generation of these verified accounts now being able to falsify a lot of these accounts? The LeBron one's already suspended. I think the Adam Schefter one got suspended today.
There was a Biden one.
This is the first day of going forward. There's a Biden one, yes. This is going to be day one of a lot of these things going forward. How tough is that belonging to a reputable journalist spot like Complex?
That's such a great question, because I was thinking about that today. The misinformation situation is just kind of something that's indicative of where we are right now, just in general. And for a while, I was trying to rack my mind on how can you combat this? But honestly, I'm recognizing that people are just going to believe whatever the hell they want to believe, even if they know it's a lie. And what you have to do is just, one, take honor and pride in the work that you do, and do everything to make sure that the things you're putting out there are accurate, not necessarily salacious, and you have a certain code to you. I know for us at Complex Sports, we have a code because we want to compete with the ESPNs and the Bleachers or whoever the top dogs are. We want to compete with them. So of course, we'll go about our business that way. But when it comes to us putting out information and the way people consume it, we hope the right audience will find us, because they will do the work to make sure that it's reputable. But the misinformation, it's going to be out there because now people just going to believe whatever they want to believe, whether it's a wild conspiracy, whether it's a flat out lie. People just going to double down on that shit. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the world we in.
Has there ever been any wild conspiracies about you online?
Not online, maybe in the streets, but not online.
I would imagine that you deal with internet trolls every day. I deal with them constantly. They're always on me. How do you deal with internet trolls?
I told myself I was never I don't read comments to this day.
Me either.
I never read comments since like 2014. I remember I was at Nice Kicks and they did this thing where they like went around the office and they would like show people shoes. And I had a pair of Jordan 13s on, a pair of Flint joints, and they was a size 13. And you know,
they're big.
Jordan 13, they kind of run kind of big, right?
Yeah.
And it was a person in the comments said, "Yo, who this motherfucker with these big ass shoes on?" And it like fucked my day up. When I was young, I was like, you know what? From this point forward, I'm never gonna read the comments. And I just told myself I wasn't gonna read the comments because if it was important enough, my boss would let me know I need to change some shit, or my homies, and we'll go about it that way.
And that's funny. To this day, I've never seen you in a pair of 13s.
I learned my lesson.
It's the 13s and the 12. The 12 is long as shit, and the 13s are big as shit.
The 2s too. The 2s are crazy on your feet, and that's my favorite Jordan. But it's like, damn, I wear 12, so I'm like, I just gotta deal with it,
bro. And it'd be so tough because like certain pants, it look different in. You like, oh, fuck. And you know, Jordan funny because like the 4 silhouette is one of the best, but your feet gonna be feeling like you played 82 games in one night,
man.
Pinky toe be hollering, dog. I'd be like, I can't keep doing this shit.
That actually speaks a lot to you that like honestly, like if I was to just go through your mentions or go through anything that you've ever done on video, on YouTube, anything, you got a pretty clean record of like nobody trolling you. Like that's some pure shit. Like there's a lot of people on Complex that people hate, and you are not one of them, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I can't say it's anything that I've done like intentionally to make it that way. I think sometimes it's just kind of how it goes. But you know, there's been moments motherfuckers try to come after me, and you know, a lot of times it won't even be like commenters. Sometimes it'll be actual folks, and I'm just like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
And you know how that go. And I gotta tell them, I'm like, yo, listen, y'all didn't reach out to us. This is not a commercial. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't a commercial. So you reach out to us for a fair conversation, and that's what it'll be. But anything else, this is like you just arguing for no reason.
Josh, how are you dealing with trolls these days?
You know what? I try to ignore them. Tyler, I remember one time I used to like people always troll me randomly for I don't know what reasons, and they would like leave comments and say some little funny shit, and I used to just delete them. Like I'll just delete it, block, whatever. Yeah. Well, I don't block because I want everybody to see
what you're doing.
See me in all my glory. I don't block no one, exes, nobody. I don't give a fuck who you are. You'll never get blocked. But yeah, Tyler was like, I remember I deleted one of the comments, and then Tyler was like, "Oh, why'd you delete it? Like, you gotta leave those up. Like, those are the best ones." Yeah. And you know, he's so petty. Like, like people have said shit to him in like 2009. And he'll come back. Like when he won the Grammy, he came back around like, remember you said I wouldn't win the Grammy? Yeah. I'm like, damn, bro, that was 10 years ago. Like, come on, my nigga. Like, so yeah, he kind of taught me to just like, you know, see it, acknowledge it, but you know, combat it in just a more successful way.
Right. Petty is the best policy. I'm telling you, petty is the best policy.